Hey there guys, happy Tuesday. Today I'm going to show you how to make a foldable to help us do some basic data analysis. When you come into class, you're going to go to the counter and you get a copy of this paper. You have some solid lines, some dashed lines. All these are markings to help us do our foldable. Now what you're going to do, the actual folding part comes in when you take the top of the paper and you bring it down center to the middle line here. And then you go ahead and bring the bottom part of the page up to the middle as well, where they both meet. Now you're going to see you have these two lines that are more or less a straight line. Go ahead and cut right down the middle to make some flaps, just like this. There really is no upside down, so as long as it's wider than it is taller, you're good. So now you should have these little windows here, these little four flaps that open up individually. And what we're going to do here is now we're going to title these outside of the windows. The outside of the windows are going to be describing the four types of measurements we use for data analysis. They are mean, median, mode, and range. So at this time now, go ahead and title or label each one of these outside flaps with mean, median, mode, and range. Try keeping the order consistent so the instructions will flow a lot better for you. When you've completed this, go ahead and keep watching the video, and you'll see what we're going to write down in each section. Now, after labeling your paper, let's go ahead and discuss the mean first. Now, the mean is going to be described as, it says on top here, the average of the numbers. And to find the mean or the average, there's only two steps you have to follow. First, you add up all the numbers that you have together, and then you divide by how many numbers that were added. For example, here I have a data set, 3, 5, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. I have a little note here that says always order from least to greatest. That's something you should always do with all your data. Now, when you have all your data collected, add up all the numbers. In this example, I get 49. Then after you found the sum of all the numbers, you divide that sum by the number of numbers that you have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers here. So I'm going to divide 49 by 7, and I get 7. Therefore, the mean is 7. That's the average. It's kind of like the middle value, almost. But the median is probably a better example of that. And that's what we're going to discuss next. Here on the median tab, we have a little phrase up here. The median is basically the middle number of a sequence. Now, what you do to find the median is you arrange the numbers once again from least to greatest. And if there are an even number of data in your data set, the median is the average of the two numbers. This will be explained below in the example. So let's take the data we had in the previous example, 3, 5, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. Remember, I already listed from least to greatest. What you're going to do is you're going to cut down your smallest and your biggest, and you keep repeating that until you get to one number in the middle. So when I cut down the first three and the last three numbers of my sequence, what I'm left with in the middle is the number 6. So my median would be 6. But let's say, for example, we had an extra number. Let's say I had a 13 here at the end. Well, then I follow the same process. I cut down as many as I can evenly from the bottom end and the top end of my numbers. And then here I'm left with two numbers, a 6 and an 8. Well, now I apply what I did in the last flap, and I find the mean, or the average of these two numbers. So I'm going to add 6 and 8. That gives me 14. I divide it by 2, because I have two numbers here, and I get 7. So the median for this data set here would be 7. So there's two ways you can find median. Both involve finding the middle number. Third, let's talk about mode. Mode is probably the easiest statistic to find because it's all it basically is the number or numbers that occurs the most often. So what you do is you find the numbers that occur most often in a sequence, and there may be more than one mode. For example, I have the data set 3, 5, 5, 6, 8, 3, 5, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. There are 2 5s in this sequence, and there's only one of everything else. Therefore, automatically, I know my mode is 5 because there are more 5s than anything else in this sequence. Now let's try this next data set. Here I added an extra 3. So I have 3, 3, 5, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, in this example, I have 2 5s and 2 3s and one of everything else. Because the 3s and the 5s repeat the same number of times and they happened more than any other number, then they both are considered to be the modes. So the modes in this case would be 3 and 5. You can have more than one mode. You can also have no mode. Let's say you have some numbers that never repeat. So if you don't have a mode, you write no mode. You do not write 0 because 0 would mean that you have 0 as a mode, and that's a number. If you don't have a mode, you just write none. Finally, our last flap here is the range. And quite simply, the range is the difference between the lowest and the highest values. So what you do is you subtract the smallest number from your largest number. So let's take the same data set again that I had, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm going to go ahead and find the biggest or largest number, subtract my smallest number, and what I get for my answer, my difference, is the range. That means all my data here spreads across 9 numbers. The range tells you about how many numbers or categories your data, lies across. These 4 statistical tools are what we're going to be studying this next week or two in math class.